Hi everyone, it is Paul here. It is Sunday the 11th of March, which can mean that it is only 2 days until the start of the 2018 Cheltenham Festival. Can't wait for it. It's made things a lot easier now with these 48-hour declarations. We're not playing the Willie Mullins bingo and seeing what else happens right up to the last minute, really. So it's making things a lot easier. What isn't making it easier, though, is the going. The going at the moment is soft, heavy in places. And I think it's going to cut up like mad. I hope you get a bit of dryness to it, but I remember a festival a good few years ago. In fact, one of the days was lost. It was where they did like 9 races on 2 days because one of them, the wind was that bad, and it was so hard to find winners because the ground was bottomless and there was all sorts of mad results going in. Well, hopefully the class and the quality will rise to the top. But some of these I'm going to be picking for day one are actually quite big price. But hopefully you'll agree with my logic behind it, and we'll see how we get on. Festival starts day one, as always, 1:30, the Supreme Novice Hurdle. And the obvious place to start is Get a Bird for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins, you just got to look at his past record in this race. You've got, it's just staggering, his record in there. Winning with all variety of different types of horses, from horses who look more stayers to proper speed horses like Min, etc., and stuff like that. And yeah, his record is undeniable. Even last year, I didn't fancy Mellon at all last year, as you probably remember, but still ran a great race. So you've got to start there. And Get a Bird has done absolutely nothing wrong. He's unbeaten. What I do like is, though, already this season he has won over 2.5 miles as well, so clearly stays. And that 2.5 mile was on heavy ground, so he's versatile with regards to the ground. And I was watching an interview with Willie Mullins, and something Willie Mullins actually said, not Willie Mullins, sorry, Ruby Walsh actually said, was he was at Punchestown down at the last, and he said he ran right the way through the line, and that's what you need to get up the hill at Cheltenham. So Get a Bird is a very, very strong looking horse. One who there's been money for all week, and I can understand why, is Kalashnikov. This was a Betfair hurdle winner and has really, really good form on heavy ground. But one worry that I do, or two worries I have with Kalashnikov. One, that was a really, really hard race he had in the Betfair hurdle. And last year, I was just going through the form of last year, and Ballyandy for Nigel Twiston Davis did exactly the same route. He went there as a novice, won the Betfair hurdle, went there, and he came fourth. Okay, it was the worst ride I've seen for a long time in this race. But the one thing about him, Kalashnikov, is that he is very, very strong at the finish that day, where Ballyandy was always a bit dubious in the finish for me. The other worry I've got with Kalashnikov is the only poor run that this horse has ever had, and I'd say it was poor, he still ran okay, was at Sandown, when behind Somerville Boyer reopposes here, and travelled well that day, but didn't necessarily get home. And if you look at Newbury, very flat track, other very flat tracks, Sandown's got a bit of a hill. I'm not saying it's a game changer, and I think he'll run his race, but it's one of those, if you've got 7, 8 to 1, which some people have got, great, but we're now talking like 3 to 1, 11 to 4. No, not for me, really, at that price. Mengley Khan is really interested because this is a really, really good horse. I remember reading about it and seeing a stable tour on it in the summer. Blotted his copybook well and truly, though, over Christmas when ran out at Leopardstown. Was going really well, about a length up, and just ran through the side of the flight. I don't know why he did it for it. Come back after that against Get a Bird, but Get a Bird absolutely hammered him. So while I think he'll necessarily get close to that, was seen as more of a confidence booster, I think Mengley Khan should run well, but I can't see him turning any form with Get a Bird, to be honest. I don't even know how to pronounce this one. Clayman Taken Forgan, I'm going to call it. Nicky Henderson, 2 from 3 this year. Was excellent the first twice this year. Absolutely, came first twice, but really, really poor the latest. The form of his wins as well has taken some hits where it's just kind of looking at it and you think it looks strong form, but the form's been challenging and hasn't necessarily come off. As I said, you can only beat what's in front of you, I suppose. But that would be a worry. Came third in the bumper last year, so clearly likes the course. And obviously Nicky Henderson in the past has sent in, the likes of your Bouviers to go well, I suppose, and Altiors, and Sprinter Sacra. So clearly knows what to go in this race, but I'm just not sure on this one. First Flow is interesting as well for Kim Bailey. Unbeaten hurdler. The one thing with this is must have bottomless ground, and I think he's going to get very, very soft ground at the very least. On his last run, I think, looking at previous Supreme Novice hurdle, he'll have to improve about £9 to be bang there at the end. I can see him improving 5 or 6, but that is a very, very big ask to improve as much as that, really. So I think he could run well if you're looking for something at 20 to 1. I think he could run well, but without quite not getting there. 2 you've got to give honourable mentions to: Slate House for Colin Tizard and Western Rider for Warren Greatrix. Slate House run well twice over course and distance early this year, but he just seems to, I don't know, the form of that hasn't worked out great, and he seems to have lost his way his last couple. And Western Rider, placed in the bumper last year, in and out form this year. Both could run well at big prices, but I'm just not convinced they're not ones for me. Somerville Boy does interest me though, because he beat Kalashnikov on the latest run that they had together. He had run really well over course and distance the 2 races before then. And the difference is, for me, there's not a lot between Kalashnikov and Somerville Boy, but Kalashnikov is 3 to 1, 11 to 4, while Somerville Boy is like 9 to 1. So I think Somerville Boy, bearing in mind as well, he's proven against Kalashnikov on a soft hill course, effectively. I would rather be having Somerville Boy if I was going to put someone in there at treble the odds of Kalashnikov, really. Fascinating renewal of the Supreme Novice. 1, 2, 3 as always, though. I'm going with Get a Bird to get Ireland off to a great start from Somerville Boy and Mengley Khan. The second race is the 210, which is the Arkle Novice Chase, which I can't believe there's only actually 5 horses in it this year. And from what I'm reading on Bits and Bobs Online, I think it's going to go down to 4 at the off, which is just absolutely insane for the Arkle. I can't believe more don't go for it. And especially this year, it does seem wide open this year. The one who was taken out recently, who didn't get declared today, which surprised me, was North Hill Harvey, because he loves the course. But saying that, he wouldn't have interested me too much because he was below form the last twice and is a winter horse, not a spring horse. But we'll concentrate on what it's in. Robbinsworth, or whatever it's called, is in there for, because you get £5 for running around in last place. So fair play. Brain Power is the outsider of the field, if you take the rag out of it, for Nicky Henderson, but he unseated and fell the last twice. Had great chance on early form, but you need a massive leap of faith at this time to back him, because his jumping's been atrocious the last couple. St Calvados is interesting because he's an unbeaten chaser. He's had 3 breathtaking wins. He just goes hard from the front, this one. His latest is in the Kingmaker, which is a grade 2, and the jumping test around Warwick is second to none, and he is going to go very, very close. And I would have tipped this one up, but I've just got one big concern, and that is best. He does seem to be better on the softer, or the better side of soft rather than heavy, this one. Plus, I think him and the next horse, which is Petit Mouchoir, could take each other on up top, even though Aidan Coleman has said that he will be happy to take a pull in this race and not necessarily go on, but they could really be racing from a long way out here. Petit Mouchoir was third in the Champion, made an excellent chase debut, foot perfect pretty much, bar the last, and then went off for a while, so I assume he had some sort of injury. He then came back and was soundly beaten 5 lengths by Footpad after the break. He should, and I think he will, get closer to Footpad. But I don't know if, the lack of, say, one run in between that and that was the difference between getting beat 5 lengths and getting beat 2 lengths. So it's hard to see him turning it with Footpad there. And as I said, we are going to get pressure on the lead, which is going to put a lot of people's jumping under severe pressure. But Willie Mullins knows what it's like to win an Arkle. He's had, obviously, the likes of Undersue who have gone and done it in the past, etc. Champagne Fever. And Footpad is an unbeaten chaser and was always going to make a better chaser than he was a hurdler. And Ruby Walsh has even said chasing has made a man of him, effectively. In his 2 course runs when he was younger as a 4-year-old and last year in the Champion Hurdle as a 5 years old, he travelled really well. And people say he didn't get up the hill. But for me, he was I've watched the races in full, and it's not about the hill. He was very, very fresh early on in the races for me. And now he is a bit older, but he's still only 6. So I think he's more likely to have grown up, and he's a bit more worldly wise now. He's been to Cheltenham a couple of times. He knows what it's all about. He's got form on heavy ground, which is fine, and he's won over 2.5 mile in heavy ground, which is fine. So I am finding it hard to oppose Footpad. The one who I've been with all winter was So Royale in the same colours, but he got injured last week, typically. So I had to kind of rethink on this. This is small but select field. It's not a vintage renewal, I don't feel. But from a 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go with the market order pretty much, which is Footpad to beat San Calvados and Petit Mouchoir. The 250 looks an absolute nightmare of a handicap, which is the ultimate handicap over 3 mile 1. Single farm payment's the place to start, because obviously he was beaten on the line in this last year. But the problem is for me, he's £3 higher now, and his form has been hit and miss this season. Was going well in the former race formerly known as the Hennessy when came down. And since then, I don't know, he just hasn't seemed to have got his groove back. He's also well held by Gold Present on Ascot form, even with the pull in the weights. But he does run well in the spring, and he does run well at the festival. So you've got to put him bang there. The horse mentioned before, Gold Present for Nicky Henderson, has got top weight, and rightfully so. He's won the last 2, but it's always been on good ground. He's never run on soft ground, which is a bit of a worry. He was second in the Close Brothers chase last year, so the course is clearly no problem. Has stayed further than this, and he is being talked about as a Grand National horse, this. So Gold Present, if you are being considered as a Grand National horse, you've got to be going close in this handicap. The favourite at the moment in places is Kustar Sivola. I'm not 100% sure why. He is a course winner and a distance winner one time a few years back, and is pretty consistent and heavy ground. He loves it, so maybe that's why he's up there. But for me, at the course, he is often flattered to deceive. And like this year, he's already come 3rd of 4 and 2nd of 4 here this season, travelling well, getting to the hill, and genuinely not getting up the hill. And in small fields, there was no excuses for not getting up there. So that is a worry for me. Ramses de Tillil for the pipes, loves heavy, and is definitely already a better chaser than a hurdler. But he's had a lot of hard races already for a novice this year, and that does worry me coming into a race like this. 007 for Nicky Henderson's worthy of a mention, purely because I did tip this one up on my WhatsApp service a couple of runs ago at massive price. I think it was 20 to 1, came into 12s, and he was just touched off by Gold Present, I think it was. But has been generally consistent this season, but I am not convinced 3 mile 1 is the trip for him. I think he's more of a 2.5 mile horse. But this leaves one horse in this one for me, and this is a big price horse, who was my pick for this, and it is Vintage Clouds for Sue Smith. Currently available in places at 16 to 1. He's won or been placed on all starts this year. Again, on my WhatsApp service, I tipped him up at Aintree when I was actually there, and he won very easily and would have won by further if he didn't have to dole off the last 3 fences or 2 fences because of the sun that day. Loves soft ground, placed in a Welsh National this year, so you know full well that he's going to stay the trip. Watched the video back from this race last year. He was 4 lengths down and staying on when he fell 3 out, and they were going hard up front, and this one stays, and I think he would have gone close. And for me, at the prices, that's the way to go. Hellishly competitive as always, but 1, 2, 3, I'm going for Vintage Clouds from Gold Present and Single Farm Payment. 3:30 is the champion hurdle over 2 mile, and you can't look any further than the reigning champ Bouvardere for me. The only horse to have beaten him over jumps, which was in a hurdle race, was none other than Altior, who's on his way to being, Hall of Fame status really. The ground is fine. He's been hosing up in the heavy ground all summer, and it doesn't look a particularly vintage renewal list, so everything points to Bouvardere retaining. Willie Mullins is mop-handed in this. York Hill is an enigma. Won at the festival a few years ago, beating Yanworth, who was my nap of the whole festival, and York Hill just beat him. But this year has done absolutely nothing. He is 10 to 1 when he realistically should be 50 to 1. Purely because the bookies know if he puts it all in, he can win a champion hurdle, no question. But toss a coin. If you want to take the 10 to 1, fine. But you might know within a mile that you've covered your money. Mellon has shown bits and bobs of form this year, but has always been a talking horse from the moment he stepped on the track and hasn't really lived up to it. While Wicklow Brave
7th of 11 in this last year. He hasn't run since the Melbourne Cup, and it'll be a hell of a training performance to go straight into this and win. But I can't see him, a horse finishing 7th last year, getting much closer, to be honest. Elgin has been supplemented for this because he won at Wincanton, which is fair enough. But the form is still light years behind Bouvredeur, and I think it was set up for him the way he won last time, Elgin, because I think it was Cliffs of Dover for Paul Nichols charged off like 50 lengths in the lead and just blew up. And Chittibello, who's a decent horse without being world class, was quite close behind. So that's not the best form. Also, he's best when he has a good break between races, and that one was only about 4 weeks ago. So that worries me too. My Tennis or Yours has come third in this, or second in this, the last 3 years in a row. He won the International last time, beating the new one. I was gutted because I tipped up the new one. But he is a spring horse. He comes into his own in the spring. It's not a vintage renewal, so I can see him being placed again. And for him, to be fair, well done to Willie Mullins for actually getting this horse back. He's a former champion. Came back, won with a plum first time out. Pulled up at Christmas. God knows what went wrong over Christmas. There was also talks about very strange betting patterns on this. Don't get involved in all of that, but that is a concern. And he was much better the latest. But Super Sunday absolutely mauled him, to be honest with you. And nothing against Super Sunday. He's going for the stayers. He shouldn't be beating the likes of Faugheen over that trip, to be honest. But Faugheen is still, even if he's at 80%, is the most likely challenger to Bouvredeur. It is not a vintage renewal at all of the champion hurdle, but 1, 2, 3, Bouvredeur from Faugheen, and My Ten's all yours. The 410, again a small field when usually you don't get this. And it's only got 9 in it for the David Nicholson Mers hurdle. Look no further than Apple's Jade. She's the reigning champion, has been unbeaten since, and this year's renewal looks a lot weaker than last year. Was up there for them in the head in the market almost with a run for the Stayers hurdle, but they're just picking this because it should hopefully be easy pickings for him. Her, I should say. Benny de Deux. How do you pronounce that? I don't know. For Willie Mullins, has to be taken seriously purely because of Willie Mullins' record in this race. He's won it with the likes of Glenn's Melody. He won it obviously with Vroom Annie Power fell on it. I think she might have won one as well. Came back from a year off with 2 chase wins and jumped really well. So the biggest surprise for me is she's actually come back over hurdles to run in this. Because if you look at the hurdles record in France, it's only 2 from 6. So she's obviously a much better chaser than hurdler. But I'm saying that Willie Mullins has never run her over hurdles, and Willie Mullins is a master at stuff like this. But I'm more surprised she didn't go for something like the Close Brothers novices getting the Mers allowance. But there you go. Le Bagarrois is up there in the market for one great chicks. It's in form, but was really poor for me in the Mers novices hurdle last year over 2 miles. I know, okay, ultimately she wants further, but that is a big worry. And it's surprised that she's come down in trip because her form's been much better this year, up to 3 miles. Now, interestingly, Le Bagarrois was about 11 to 2, but Jers Girl, who's actually in my 10 to follow video that I did, even though she hasn't won, come 4th, second this season. But last time out was only beaten in neck by Le Bagarrois at Kempton over 3 mile, and she travelled a lot better, but ultimately Le Bagarrois outstayed her. So the drop back in trip seems much more logical for her than it does Le Bagarrois. Now, Jers Girl is 14 to 1, as opposed to 6 to 1, 11 to 2 Le Bagarrois. So I'd be much more in the Jers Girl camp if I was looking for an each way selection, because I think the drop back in trip is ideal. Again, watch the video back of this. Fell 3 out when going really well last year, and one of her runs this season she was only 2 lengths behind Apple's Jade. So if you want all the form for an each way bet, Jers Girl's the one. But Apple's Jade is on her way. She could be another Quebec. That was another Willie Mullins one, and win this every year that she fancies turning up, basically. So 1, 2, 3 here, Apple's Jade from Jers Girl and Benny de Deux. The 450 is the National Hunt Chase, and this is the most competitive race on day one, because I could literally make a case for 8 horses in this, no questions asked. Jury duty for Elliott is head of the market, purely because come first or second every run this season. It's only below par second was when dropped to 2 mile 4, and the rest have been over 3 miles, so going up in trip seems very logical. Mossbank is up there in the market also for Elliott, and Jigginstown won this last year with Tiger Roll. Interesting, fell when challenging a jury duty 2 runs ago, and you never know what would have happened. Likes to front run, which quite often is what you need to do in this. Last year I had, I think it was Champers on Ice and Beware the Bear or something, and they were both at the arse end and never got put into it. And, quite often you need to be up there. So Mossbank is interesting, and Sire is the 8, so it will stay all day. No comment for Philip Hobbs is interesting. Only 1 run this year and travelled really well in a Grade 1 novice chase at Sandown. Goes here relatively fresh, and breeding gives hope rather than expectation compared to Mossbank. That should stay. Missed Parfois gets a Mers allowance and is consistent, so that's interesting. But she's already had 6 runs this season, so if a Mers is turning up for the 6th or 7th time, going up to 4 mile wins, fair play. But not one for me, I'm afraid. I think it could be over raced. Size in Tennessee, loves the course and would have been in the 1, 2, 3, but jumping is always an issue with this horse. But the one I've fallen on the side of here is Rath Vinden for Willie Mullins. This year, the last 2 runs, believe it or not, is actually 4 fell and been brought down when travelling in Group 1 races. So we'll need a bit of luck in running. It's the one thing I would say with this is he's run well at the course in the past. In the Neptune Novices Hurdle, run really well and ran well up the hill over 2.5 miles. So I've got every expectation this horse will get 4 miles. Patrick Mullins is going to ride it, and this horse kind of reminds me of one that won, and I tipped it up about 3-4 years ago, called Back in Focus. I think it was called. It's got everything similar to Back in Focus. What's making this race hard to pick as well is that nobody who ran in the race last year is running again, so there's no form lines to last year. But it is ultra competitive. But Rath Vinden is a horse I'm coming on the side of purely because as well at about 10 to 1. I think that is a very good each way bet. Well, 1, 2, 3 here in a very competitive race is Rath Vinden from Mossbank, and no comment. Which leads us finally to the 5:30, which is the closer for day 1. The Close Brothers listed handicap over 2.5 mile, and again devilishly competitive. Any second now is up there towards the head of the market. Trained by Ted Walsh, has had 4 place runs this year, all behind Footpad, Invitation Only, and Monolith, all of whom are well to the floor of the market in everything they're going for. So that's got to be interesting. The one where we've got though, no winning chase form, and he runs in the McManus colours. And what's more interesting when the decks came out today is that Barry Geraghty, who is the retained runner for JP McManus, is on Demi Sang. Now, Demi Sang was really impressive on debut for Willie Mullins in January, and next time out made a massive error at the first, nearly fell, did well to retain the partnership. So you can always put a line through that. The worry I've got with Demi Sang is the jumping's got to have to hold. If it's like on debut, every single chance. If it's like next time, no chance. But it's just so weird that any second now is like 6 to 1. Demi Sang is 12 to 1. Barry Geraghty's picked that one, presumably, unless there's some type of other, I don't know, weight issue or agreement in place. Barney Dwan came second in the Pertames final last year and improved with each of his runs this year, but this is a massive step up in class chasing, so that is a bit of a worry. Deplotting Shed is actually up there with favourites with a second now. Gordon Elliott trained, and I think that's the reason why he is potentially thrown in on the mark. He's in on what he showed over hurdles a couple of years ago, but his form this year is not as good as it should be for me going into this race. I'm not saying he's not going to go and win by 10 lengths, but for me, if you're talking, 4 to 1 now, it's barely an each way price, and for me, that's far, far too short. Ballyhill is a very interesting horse at 20 to 1 for Twiston Davis. He's a course and distance winner and has got a massive chance at the weight if his jumping holds up. He made massive mistakes at the course last time, which cost his chance. But the time before over course and distance, he didn't, and he won really, really well. Earlier in the season, he made mistakes and fell at Aintree. So you're playing that game of will he jump around? That is the problem. The ground is fine, and if you're looking for an each way bet, Ballyhill could be the way. But the one I like here is actually 11 to 1, and that is Mr. Whittaker for Mick Shannon, who's usually more associated with flat horses. Impressive winner over 2 mile 5 at the course in January, beating I think think it was theatre territory by a length and a half, but more impressive for me is it was 15 lengths back to the third in soft ground. They absolutely pulled miles ahead, and that is a sign of a horse that, one, who likes the ground, and two, who's potentially on a good mark, and three, likes the course. He's still on a great mark here, and with bits of questions over the other one, I would rather take the proven mark course and go in that Mr. Whittaker brings. Unbelievably competitive, but 1, 2, 3, Mr. Whittaker from Demi Sang and Ballyhill. Now that brings day 1 to a close. I'm going to try and do day 2 tomorrow now, because these 48-hour decks make it a lot easier. But as always, let us know who you fancy.